how much could it help if the use of psychedelics was a little bit more free?
Mm. Yeah, I'm actually working on that a lot right now. I've started a microdosing company for psilocybin, and um, I had been microdosing a little bit, but so I think it's really, really important because it basically allows you to let go of that need to protect, right? And so I noticed it right away, like the feeling. I just took one um, when I first started taking these. We're just putting them in little gel caps, right? 125 milligrams. And there's a lot of different strains and stuff, but we found this one. But I took one, and I'm a footballer, right? And I play soccer every week. And I stepped out on the pitch that day and was just like, I own this place, you know, and I didn't even give a fuck. Right. And normally it's like when you receive the ball, all this stuff's going through your mind, you know, it's like um, you will be of two minds and you'll mess it up, right? You'll be like pass, dribble, shoot, and you do all three things at once, mess it up, whatever. But I just walked on that pitch and I didn't care, you know. But then once I get out there and start receiving the ball, I also again don't care what's happening. And so in that way, I was able to just score at will, you know. And so you become aware of the motion of the game at a slower scale, right? When you let go of this need to perform, you know,
Yeah,
which
because you're
is
letting go of the potential risks of things that could go wrong.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
alleviating
of
that.
looking like a fool or or whatever, you know. And so I noticed it right away with athletics, right? And so yeah, I think it's a really, really important to break off this crust, right, over our eyes, right, that don't permit us to see. And it's not necessary all the time. I'm not saying, I'm not advocating take it forever like SSRIs, you know, the way they have people on this shit. But the idea is to get to a whole perception without any external, right?
Yeah, I was
Of
going to say, how long have you been microdosing for, and is it something you do for a long period of time? And once you come off it, are the effects like permanent after that?
yeah, and so they can become permanent. And so I've been doing it for a while. Probably I did it 2 years ago for a while, and then I stopped. But I've been doing it because we started this company. Um, and it's difficult because it's still illegal, mostly federally everywhere. There's only a few states here that so it's like it's hard to talk about. But I think it's really important, and but yeah, so it creates new neural pathways. It allows you to operate in situations where normally would have you anxious, in a completely calm way, right? And this actually builds it up in your brain so that it's not necessary to be using it, right? And so yeah, the idea is that you take a 1 month supply, which is 20 tablets, and you take 4 days on, 2 days off, and you journal and you try to see the differences, the contrast, and either you keep doing it or you recognize that you've made a lot of progress, right? But what Terence McKenna says, right, and he's the mushroom guru of all time, right? You guys know Terence McKenna?
Yeah, I've heard a couple of things recently.
So I like him a lot. He has, he misses some things just like everyone. Uh, but what he would say is that the mushrooms allow you to have a conversation, right? They have a conversation with you. And they basically slap down all of your insecurities, right? And so allow you to realize that your insecurities are, your attempt to protect who you think you are, your identity or your sense of self, and that it's not necessary.
Yeah, because which is completely artificial. But you, for example, someone that's never taken any psychedelics, you could explain to them the situation that it is all artificial, and they could understand that. But without, in my opinion, though, without actually feeling that, it'll be a hard thing to understand and a hard thing to believe.
Yeah, and it gives you that feeling. It offers it up for you, right? And it can be right. It's very beneficial for newbies to this kind of thing to have guidance and to do it in a group, right? So that if it gets scary, then there's someone there to help you. Because it can be scary, right? Because all of a sudden, right, it's telling you that you don't exist. But it's very illuminating. And so, McKenna says, you take a heroic dose one time, and it's like 1,000 hours of therapy.
Heroic dose. How much is a
5
heroic?
grams.
Right.
5 grams.
Okay. Yeah, because I've also I don't know what your opinions are on cannabis, but I've heard a lot of people who don't smoke it recreationally. They smoke it because it sets them straight. It tells them a few things that aren't sort of aligned right in whatever it is they are feeling like they should be aligned in.
Yeah. Cannabis can be it's a little bit more gentle maybe than mushrooms, right? And it's a different kind of spirit behind it, but yeah, definitely. I think for someone who's chronic, who's been smoking it since they were 15, you can reach a threshold where you could be done with marijuana, where it's not necessary anymore, and it actually it shines a light on yourself, right? And so that's why it's a good introductory for people, for this mind altering aspect. And that's again why it gets really scary, because it's like you have to be accountable, right? And I think marijuana really does make you accountable, I mean, you'll see people get in fights and then they'll do a bong rip or something, and then someone will come back later and apologize, after sitting there all stoned thinking about it, right?
Well, yeah, you see I guess this leads on to another question, but you can see the difference there between weed and alcohol, which everyone always sort of compares the two. But what are your thoughts around alcohol what are your thoughts around alcohol as we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason it's legal, right? They like it. It's the effect that it gives people, which is it's a depressive quality, right? It taxes you, makes you tired. It fucks with your organs. It feels good at first, right? And it makes you feel all like socializing and having a good time. That's all great and everything. But yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think it's good, right? I think it's not good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think from the conversation we've been having today and also other conversations as well, me and Aaron both quit alcohol at the start of this year. So January the 1st, we said bye-bye to alcohol. And then we've been having these conversations with people like the one we've had today. And yeah, like you can highlight all of the negative parts of alcohol, which are quite easy just to list off just like that. But one thing I'm noticing recently is like what we've said today about finding yourself within the mix of everyone, and everyone is you. Every time someone drinks alcohol, that pushes them so far away from even coming close to being able to find sort of the true spirit of life, what we've been discussing today. And it's escapism in the sense that, oh yeah, I've worked all week, so I need to relax and go and escape. But it's escapism on a whole nother level that no one really talks about, is that it completely cuts you off from your spiritual self and from spirituality as a whole.
Yeah, because what I find is that the next day is when it comes in, right? Is that you're beating yourself up, right? And that is when you're in conflict with yourself, that's again hard division, right? That's hard divided consciousness, right? And so it creates that cycle every time you drink, yeah. So yeah, it's not a good one, and I've enjoyed it very much, over my life, and I've stopped drinking it too. And what you find is that you can get into that social state that you feel on alcohol without it. It's just at the beginning you don't get this hard contrast of difference, right? It's a slow build, right? And so 6 weeks of going clean, right, feels way better than a half pint of Jim Beam.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can get that, right? It takes 6 weeks to get that feeling. You got to be clear for 6 weeks. And then all of a sudden you're like, man, I feel light. I don't need it to talk to people. In fact, I'm way more social and I can pull shit out of my brain way better, having a conversation,
And what you're saying actually makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. Like, weed, whatever. That's the big joke about weed. It's like, oh, I wrote down the best idea. And then you wake up in the morning and it's like, whatever, something to name, right? But yeah, mushrooms is a good way, and I think Hancock talks about that. But I would say that psychedelics were used against us in the 60s, in the hippie movement. And it was to swing that pendulum hard, right? So that it would swing back all the way to the conservative side. And, my parents were hippies, right? They were on a commune. My dad was in Vietnam. He came back from Nam, did an about face, became a hippie, moved the family to northern New Mexico, and joined a commune, And there was all these high ideals and stuff, but all it did was fracture, right? Families, right? Which is what happened to my family. And also all of these boomers who were hippies at one point got their shit together, right? And became the leaders of the corporate world, and fucked us even harder, right? Right, with all of these corporate behaviors, with the planned obsolescence, wasting of materials, polluting the groundwater, blah 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 blah, all that shit. And so it's like, yeah, thanks a lot, hippies.